BYD just did something so massive, so quietly, that the entire American auto industry woke up in a cold sweat. And here's what no one is telling you. While every headline was focused on Tesla's Cybertruck and Elon's latest tweet, China's biggest car company was secretly constructing something that makes every factory in America look like a garage. And once you see what's being built inside, you'll realize the race for the future didn't just start. It might already be over. Welcome back to Drago Tech. While Western media kept you busy arguing about interest rates, gas prices, and which celebrity bought which electric car, BYD was doing something different. They weren't making announcements. They weren't holding press conferences. They were just building quietly, relentlessly, at a speed that should terrify every car executive sitting in Detroit right now. Because this isn't just a factory. What BYD has constructed is a statement, a declaration that the future of transportation belongs to China. And the numbers behind it are almost too big to believe. Jaw-drop fact 1, delivery drone equivalent for cars. Let's start with something that will immediately put the scale into perspective. You know how Tesla's Gigafactory in Nevada was considered the largest building on Earth by footprint when it was built? Elon called it the alien dreadnought. The media called it the factory of the future. The whole world watched in amazement. BYD looked at that and said, cute. Their new Shenzhen Ocean mega campus covers over 11 million square feet. That's not 10% bigger than Tesla's Gigafactory. That's not twice the size. We're talking about a facility so large, the Gigafactory in Nevada fits inside it with room left over for 2 more. And here's the number that should make your jaw drop. This single campus is designed to produce 5 million vehicles per year. Tesla's entire global production in 2024 was around 1.7 million. BYD's one factory can produce nearly 3 times what Tesla makes worldwide, in one location, in 1 year. Do you think that's impressive? Because we haven't even gotten to what they're building it for. Jaw drop fact 2, the specific technology. This factory isn't being built to make ordinary electric cars. That would be too simple. BYD has engineered something inside this campus that no car company on Earth has fully cracked yet. And it starts with their Blade battery. Remember when everyone said the biggest problem with electric cars was the battery? Too slow to charge, too dangerous, too expensive, too heavy. Every automaker agreed on that. It was accepted as a fundamental limitation of the technology. BYD said no. Their Blade battery, which is now being produced at industrial scale inside this mega factory, can charge from 10 to 80% in just 10 minutes flat. Not 40 minutes, not 25 minutes, 10 minutes. That's faster than the time it takes most people to fill a gas tank, pay, grab a coffee, and get back in the car. But here's where it gets even crazy. The Blade battery is also nearly impossible to set on fire. BYD took a fully charged Blade battery cell and drove a nail through it in front of engineers. The battery didn't explode. It didn't catch fire. It didn't even smoke. The temperature barely changed. Do that to a standard lithium-ion cell and you get an instant inferno. And what's absolutely incredible is that this technology is now being produced, not in a lab, not in a pilot facility, but at a scale of millions of units per year, right inside this mega campus, being installed into cars that you can buy right now. Jaw drop fact 3, cost comparison. Now here's the fact that genuinely terrifies American manufacturers. Because of the sheer scale of this factory and BYD's vertical integration model, they manufacture roughly 75% of every component in-house. The batteries, the chips, the motors, the steel, even the glass. Tesla, by comparison, depends on external suppliers for the majority of its key components. What does that mean in practice? It means BYD can produce a fully featured electric car with their latest technology for a cost that American companies physically cannot match right now. Their entry-level models start at the equivalent of around $10,000, not $35,000.
Not $25,000, $10,000.
For context, the cheapest Tesla on the market today is around $38,000. The cheapest American-made EV of any kind barely dips below $28,000 with subsidies. BYD is making solid, safe, technologically advanced electric vehicles at a price point that 3 years ago, every American auto analyst said was completely impossible. But do you want to know what's actually scary for Detroit? That $10,000 car is not even BYD's real goal. Here's what's frightening for every car company not named BYD. This factory isn't just producing vehicles for China. It is the launch pad for BYD's global takeover, and the strategy is already working. In 2024, BYD sold cars in over 100 countries. They surpassed Tesla in total EV sales globally. They dethroned Toyota as the best-selling car brand in several major Asian markets. They're opening dealerships across Europe, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East at a pace that makes even the fastest-growing companies look slow. And they're doing it all from a single campus that didn't exist 5 years ago. Here's the number that should make every American policymaker lose sleep. BYD's revenue in 2024 crossed $100 billion for the first time. They added more revenue in 1 year than most car companies generate in their entire lifetime. And Wall Street largely missed it. American news barely covered it. The mainstream media was too busy. And while all of that was happening, BYD was pouring billions back into this mega factory to make it even bigger. The second phase of expansion is already underway. Now, let me bring this down to earth for a second. Imagine this. You walk into a BYD dealership, not in China, but in your city, maybe in London, maybe in Sao Paulo, maybe, eventually, in Los Angeles. You're shown a car that looks genuinely stunning, a sleek sedan with a panoramic glass roof, a massive center screen, seats that recline almost flat, and a range of over 400 miles on a single charge. You ask for the price. The salesperson tells you it's $15,000. You assume there's a catch. There isn't. The car is real. The price is real. It passed every safety test. It has every modern feature. It even drives itself on the highway. Now imagine you're a Ford or GM executive watching that happen in your home market. Because that scenario is not a hypothetical. It is happening right now in Europe. BYD's Seagull model, their entry-level global car, is hitting price points that are causing genuine panic across the continent. European automakers have already lobbied for emergency tariffs to try to slow BYD down. Think about that. The most powerful auto industry lobby in the world is asking governments for protection. Not because BYD's cars are dangerous or low quality, but because they're too good and too cheap at the same time. That's not a normal competitive threat. That's a structural shift. But here's what absolutely blew my mind when I dug into this story. The factory itself is not just big, it is a different philosophy of manufacturing. BYD calls their approach the ocean platform strategy. Every vehicle produced in the mega campus shares core components. The same battery architecture, the same electrical system, the same software brain. This means engineers who improve the battery in a $10,000 Seagull automatically improve the battery in a $150,000 Yangwang supercar at the same time. Every upgrade ripples across the entire fleet instantly. Compare that to how American car companies work. Ford has separate engineering teams for separate platforms. Improvements to the Mustang Mach-E's battery system don't automatically transfer to the F-150 Lightning. Different teams, different timelines, different budgets. BYD solved that problem architecturally. They baked the solution into the factory before they even started building cars inside it. And here's where it becomes genuinely science fiction. The mega campus has entire floors dedicated to AI-powered quality control. Not humans checking cars for defects, not cameras scanning for scratches. We're talking about machines that use computer vision and machine learning to detect imperfections invisible to the human eye, microscopic stress fractures in battery cells, nanometer-level misalignments in motor windings, defects that would only reveal themselves after 50,000 miles on the road. The AI catches them before the car is assembled. BYD's defect rate is now so low that independent European testing agencies have been quietly revising their assumptions about Chinese car quality. The old narrative that Chinese cars are cheap imitations is dead. The mega factory killed it. And that AI quality system? It learns. Every defect it catches trains the model to catch the next one faster. The factory literally gets smarter every single day it operates. Now let's zoom out, because what's happening here is bigger than cars. While America was spending the last decade fighting about which charging standard to adopt, debating EV tax credits, arguing about whether electric cars are even real or a hoax, running Senate hearings about TikTok, BYD was constructing the industrial engine of the 21st century. The United States government has now imposed 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs, specifically because American manufacturers cannot compete on a level playing field. Read that again. The most powerful economy in the history of the world had to put a 100% tax wall around itself to prevent a single Chinese company from eating its auto industry alive. That is not a trade dispute. That is an admission, and Europe is doing the same thing. 45% tariffs, emergency investigations, political pressure. The irony is devastating. The countries that spent 30 years lecturing the world about free markets and open competition are now desperately throwing up walls to keep competition out. Meanwhile, in the countries with no tariffs, Southeast Asia, Latin America, the Middle East, Africa, BYD is moving so fast that local dealers have waiting lists stretching months. 85% of consumers in markets where BYD operates freely say they would consider buying one as their next car. The walls aren't stopping BYD. They're just deciding which countries get left behind. And here's what no one wants to talk about directly. The mega factory runs at a level of automation that would make Henry Ford dizzy. The production lines are staffed by robotic arms operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They don't take breaks. They don't get sick. They don't ask for raises. They just build. For every 1,000 cars that roll off a traditional Detroit assembly line, you need roughly 250 human workers. For every 1,000 cars that come out of BYD's mega campus, that number is approaching 40. So what happens to the rest of those jobs? What happens when this model spreads? What happens when BYD opens factories in Europe, in Mexico, in Southeast Asia, which they're actively planning right now, and every single one of them runs at that same ratio? That's not a question Drago Tech can answer for you, but it's a question every government on Earth is currently failing to have an honest conversation about. Because the mega factory isn't just a building, it's a preview of what every factory everywhere will eventually look like. So here's where we are. BYD has built a manufacturing complex that makes Tesla's most famous factory look like a prototype. They have cracked battery technology, vertical integration, AI manufacturing, and global distribution simultaneously. They are selling cars at price points the Western auto industry structurally cannot match. And they are expanding. This isn't the end of the story, not even close. BYD has already announced plans for additional mega campuses in 3 new countries. The Shenzhen facility is phase 1. The technology inside those factories will get cheaper. The cars will get better. The price will keep dropping. And at some point, the tariff walls will not be politically or economically sustainable to maintain. And that's the question I want to leave you with. Is the American auto industry actually building something that can compete? Or is it just buying time behind a wall? And when that wall eventually comes down, and walls always come down, will American consumers celebrate the choice they finally get? Or will American workers mourn the industry that wasn't ready? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If this video opened your eyes to something the mainstream media isn't covering, share it with one person who needs to see it.